Are you sick of looking at Netflix and you don't know what to watch?
So many movies out there, you don't know which ones are good, which ones were bad.
You curious about what's out there?
I'm Joey Powers.
I'm Don Tretler.
This is the Best Pictures.
The ones you don't want to miss.
Hit it.
Say hello to my little friend.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Winners go home and prom queen.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
I have to serve this. Deserves got nothing to do with it. No sequel for you.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Best Pictures. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Powers.
Hey, and I'm Don Tretler. Welcome to the show. And this week, we were talking about this. I found a list of movies you need to see before you die. So I brought them in. I wanted to pass them by Joey, see what he thought. But first, I guess, well, wait a minute. What I want to do is we keep talking about what is the best picture. And I had an idea. I wanted to float this by you. I was thinking of it. When we think about film, we think of it as an art, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So like you could have like sculpture or dance or painting, singing, whatever. And I was thinking film, it could be like a piece of art. It could be something that's going to last through the ages. So when we're thinking about the best picture, we're basically saying the movie this year that we think is going to stand the test of time as a work of art. How does that sound?
That makes sense.
Could that be?
It could be, but I mean, I guess the one thing I would say personally is over the years, I've seen some movies, like, of all the movies that got nominated necessarily, and even some that didn't or whatever, and it's like, nothing that year really stood out to me. Like, something that it's like, I don't know, I like, a certain year, like, maybe I don't want to see any of those movies again. You know, and that to me, like we've talked about it, like the year '94, when your Best Picture nominees are Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, The Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show, and the full, no, not the Full Monty. I think it's Bullets Over Broadway was the fifth one. I mean, there's some memorable movies there.
Right.
You know, those are movies that stand the test of time that, like, to me, easily Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and Shawshank Redemption are all movies that I own, all movies that I've seen probably double-digit times each. I actually just watched Quiz Show within the last couple of weeks. And you can't necessarily say that with a lot of years.
Right. We did talk about that other year that had Shakespeare in Love.
Well, there was, I think the year, are you talking about the year with, like, Good Will Hunting and L.A. Confidential, As Good as It Gets, Full Monty.
Boom.
Yeah, and Shakespeare in Love wasn't even that year. Shakespeare in Love was the year with Saving Private Ryan and the Sid Red Line, which is actually still a pretty decent year. But I mean, you look at, I want to say it was the 96 year for movies, but it would be the 97 award ceremony, where The English Patient, I believe, won Best Picture. And
I think I saw it. I can't even tell you whether I saw that movie.
I look at that as like, that's a movie I haven't seen. That's a movie I will never see.
Really?
And it's just it has no appeal to me.
Yeah.
But at that same year, it's like I'd watch Fargo again. I've watched Fargo many times. Jerry Maguire I have seen many times. I would watch that again. They were both nominated for Best Pictures that year, and yet the artsy supposedly film that made no money won like 8 or 9 Oscars, including Best Director, Best Picture.
I don't think I liked it. The English Patient. I think I saw it. I don't think it was memorable, and I don't think I liked it.
I feel like that. I think like the big turnoff to me, other than the fact that I think it was a really long movie, was I feel like it was like an isolated movie where was it just like him and the nurse pretty much for the most part. I want to say because he gets hurt, right? He
think so, right?
Like crashes a plane or something like that, and it's just her taking care of him, like nursing him back to health. And to me, that's just. There's got to be more than that to me. Like, I can't watch a movie where it's just, like, pretty much 2 people for, like, the whole thing. I mean, I'm sure there's scenes, you know, where you see him getting in the crash or whatever, and there's other people. But for the most part, I do believe that it's actually mostly just him and her.
So you would never watch My Dinner with Andre?
Oh, what?
It's a movie. I think it came out in the 80s. My Dinner with Andre. It's two guys and they're talking
No.
at a table. They
I
go
gotta-
nowhere else. Nothing explodes.
No,
Nobody gets
I
chased.
gotta have more. Honestly, there's a movie that I did see that's kind of in the realm of that. It was okay, but I wouldn't watch it again. Swimming with Sharks.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey, Frank
yeah.
Whaley. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but the majority of that movie is just the two of them.
Uh-huh.
Frank Whaley's like his assistant, and Kevin Spacey's like a jerk boss. So Frank Whaley takes him hostage and kind of tortures him, and like pretty much payback for all the stuff he's done to him over the years. It wasn't a bad movie, but at the same time, like I said, it's pretty much just those two throughout the entire movie, and that's just there's not enough action or enough things happening. You know, I need like more than that. For me personally, I mean, everybody's obviously different. Like I can't watch silent movies.
Right.
You know, and I can't watch subtitled movies. Like I just like anything that's like not in English. I just don't have the patience for it. So I guess I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you as far as like where you're going as far as Best Picture because
I keep trying to think about it because we haven't been able to kind of put our finger on it. And
I think a lot of our problem is we always get so easily sidetracked that we never actually stick to it and actually talk about it. But I think that is a good point, though. What you're saying is like, you know, you look at all these movies over the years, like, God, what won it? I think it was the year. No, it wasn't Slumdog Millionaire. It was a couple of years after Slumdog Millionaire. I forget what movie won it that year. But there are like movies like Inception was nominated for Best Picture. The Town wasn't even nominated for Best Picture, although I feel like it could have been. The one that made Jennifer Lawrence famous.
Winter's Bone.
Winter's Bone.
Oh, yeah.
Was nominated. And I don't remember what actually won the Best Picture of that. It might have been The Artist that year. It could have been The Artist or it could have been The King's Speech because I think they were both right around the same. They were within a year of each other.
Right.
And I just feel like, the year like The King's Speech won, it beat out The Social Network. I thought The Social Network was, I mean, I think you, Alex, and I all had this conversation after the show one day. I think Social Network is possibly David Fincher's best film. And you and Alex had both agreed that you thought Seven was his best film.
Yeah.
Since then, Gone Girl has come out, which I didn't like at first, but I rate that. My issue with Seven was the end, how Brad Pitt's character acts at the end.
I'm going to have to watch it.
I feel like
again.
I thought that movie was brilliant until the end, because he wasn't believable to me.
I think that's one time I had to play something along those lines where I accidentally killed my own child. And it was really hard because, you know, the director kept saying, no, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. You're killing your own child. And I was like, unless you can imagine, and at the time I didn't have a child. So now I've got a child, so I could try
It'd probably be
that.
different, right, yeah.
Right, but I mean, I think at the time, he wasn't married. He didn't have any children back then.
And this was him really up and coming. This is one of his, I mean, he'd already had a couple breakout roles, but this is like his first major studio as the lead actor. I mean, they're both the co-leads pretty much. But like the last 5 minutes, he just didn't seem like he was upset.
Yeah.
It just seemed like he was just reading words off a piece of paper. And that really ruined it for me because that was such a brilliant movie, you know? I mean, it was just, I didn't see that ending coming. I mean, you knew it was going to be something like completely shocking, but I didn't see that at all,
Right.
you know? I mean, and it was excellent, but the end of it just ruined it for me. But anyway, getting back to The Social Network, I haven't seen The King's Speech, but The Social Network was one of those movies that I have seen multiple times because it stuck with me because that's like almost like a once-in-a-generation type movie because, I mean, Facebook changed everything. It changed the world. I mean, who doesn't have Facebook now?
Right.
You know, I mean, when that came out, I actually still hadn't had a Facebook account at the time. But it's like, it really did. It changed so much for so many people and stuff like that. I mean, I think before, what was it, like MySpace or something like that?
Right,
I
yeah,
think
that's what it was.
Was the big thing, and then Facebook just like put them out of business completely. I mean, but I mean, it's great storytelling. You know, Aaron Sorkin wrote it. He was the co-creator and writer of The West Wing, which he won many primetime Emmys for writing. And he won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for The Social Network. That movie was actually like the favorite at the beginning of the awards ceremony until like, you know, it won like all the major Golden Globe awards and stuff like that. And then once the Screen Actors Guild came around, it swung to the King's Speech. And then generally, however the Screen Actors Guild goes, generally is how the Oscars end up going. And so the King's Speech ended up winning the majority of those as well. But you're right. I think that's good criteria to have because, I mean, I think you would be in agreement with me that you would watch Fargo or Jerry Maguire again before you'd ever watch The English Patient again.
Yeah, I won't watch The English Patient again.
Yeah.
I don't think I liked it the first time. I think that's a problem.
And I think sometimes when they vote for the Best Picture, I think a lot of it is because that's like the sexy pick, so to speak, because it's a period piece. It's a famous director. You know, it's Ray Fiennes is a pretty famous actor. You know, and it was was it World War II?
I think so. And now it makes me just even thinking about it makes me want to see it again because I just have like such little memory of it, which really doesn't speak well for the film.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If you don't remember it, and I mean, a movie that won like 7 or 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, and you don't remember it.
And I remember that being the one of them that I really disagreed with, just because I just really didn't think that much of that film. I don't know. Even the King's Speech, you know, I didn't.
Okay, well,
I don't remember much about it. I think it was good, but I don't remember it blowing my mind or anything.
I know you said you don't remember much about it. It gets a 7.4. I mean, just
Maybe.
is that too high? Do you think? I mean, just based on what you can remember, does that sound?
From what, The English Patient?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think I would give it 7.4. But I
No.
mean, I guess it stood. I mean, if it's 7.4, it's somewhat stood the test of time here.
Fargo gets an 8.1.
Yeah, it's an excellent
Which
film.
I agree with that. I think that's right in line with what I would give it. And I'm just going to check real quick.
Get some great performances. You get, you know, William H. Macy, and
That was really his breakout role because I really hadn't seen him in much.
I think he was a supporting actor up to that point.
Yeah. Well, I think he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that, which he deserved. And that was Frances McDormand's first Oscar. And that was the Coen brothers' first Oscar as well. They won screenplay
Yeah.
for that. Jerry Maguire gets a 7.3. I'd say that's about right, you know, because, I mean, it was good. It wasn't as good as Fargo, but I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Cuba Gooding Jr. won supporting actor for that, which I thought he deserved. He was really good in that movie. And Tom Cruise was nominated for lead actor for that.
He's going to win someday. I keep saying that.
He will. I think he will. I think you're right. I mean, he's one of those guys, he gets pretty much whatever role he wants. You know, I mean, because he's a money-making machine, you know, and everything he's in touches gold, turns to gold, you know. There was actually a rumor, I know we got to get to your list, but there was a rumor years ago, and it didn't end up surfacing, or it didn't end up coming to fruition for whatever reason, that he and John Travolta were going to do a remake of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Wow.
And it just...
No, why would they do that?
I don't know. It didn't happen. I don't know if... It might have been around the time when he had a falling out with Paula Wagner, was his partner.
Uh-huh.
And then they ended up breaking, because there was like Cruise Wagner Productions or something like that. And it might have been right around his whole Scientology thing. And they ended up splitting up, and he ended up partnering with like Daniel Snyder, the Redskins owner. But yeah, so I don't know if that was, but it now obviously never happened.
That's like a classic movie.
That's
You
just
can't
that's
remake
one of
that.
those movies you shouldn't. Like
You like remaking The Godfather. Why would you bother?
Or like Chinatown. You know, it's like you can't remake certain movies. All right, so let's.
So here, let
let's
me
get
throw
to your
some
list
out.
here.
Before these are movies. I found a list. Movies before you die.
Now, what made you think of this? Did you like Google like 10 movies to watch before you die, or what made you think of?
No, it's this thing that comes up every so often. I get these like little, I don't know, lists and things that come up. It kind of like, and I read them. If it has something to do with movies, I like to read about it. I just thought, let me see what you think about this list that somebody came up with. Apocalypse Now.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Some really, really good performances in that movie.
It's interesting because I had to go back and watch that movie again, and I liked it a whole lot better now than I did when it came out.
I mean, you want to talk about a cast You know, I mean, A-lister after A-lister in that movie. I mean, some of them. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne wasn't even really famous at the time. He's a kid.
Right.
I mean, I think that's Harrison Ford right after the first Star Wars and a couple
Right about the same time, I think. Yeah.
years after American Graffiti. So, I mean, he looks like a baby in that movie. You know, he has a very, very small part at the beginning. Martin Sheen is huge now. I mean, you know, he's obviously a household name. Robert Duvall, he's got the one of the best quotes in movie history. You know,
Right.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Eats it up, yeah.
And Dennis Hopper is like the crackhead reporter or whatever he's on. And, of course, Brando.
And Brando,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, it's just a
Great movie.
And, you know, Francis Ford Coppola was great. You know, Brando did give him a hard time. You know, they did work, obviously, together on The Godfather. And at the time, Brando was paid, I believe, $1 million. And he didn't have a very big part in that movie. I mean, a lot of it was about his character, but he's actually not really in it until, like 3/4 of the way through the movie?
At least, yeah.
You know? I mean, he's barely in it. He got paid more than any other actor in the movie. And I guess he had a hard time showing up on time or showing up, like, at all. And Francis Ford Coppola was, like, not happy. He was being a complete diva about it because he was Marlon Brando, so he could, you know?
The other weird thing about it, I don't know if we talked about this before, is the Martin Sheen character was cast with
somebody else in mind,
Harvey
right?
Keitel.
Yeah, right. Yes, you
and
did
I
tell me
think
that.
they shot part of the movie and they went back and reshot it because they didn't like it. He didn't like Harvey Keitel.
They didn't like him in it? No.
For whatever reason, they didn't like his interpretation of the whole thing, which, you know, if you think back, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, he would kind of work.
I would think so. He's a pretty talented actor. I mean, that's, a few years after Mean Streets.
Yeah, I
And,
would.
and Mean Streets was great. I thought he was really good in Mean Streets. That's one of my favorite Scorsese movies.
He seems like he would go well in that. Here's the next one, Silence of the Lambs.
Absolutely.
What an excellent movie. I mean, everything came together in that film.
my mom was watching one of the daytime shows this morning before I went to work. And they were it was the girl that plays the granddaughter in Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter.
Right.
And she was on it today, and I was like, they can't still be promoting that movie. It was terrible. I was like, why are they promoting it? And then my mom was like, well, it's Halloween. I was like, okay, I guess. I mean, it's like, it obviously tanked at the box office. I mean, it's up to like barely over 60, which is still a success because that movie doesn't cost much to make.
No.
But, and they asked her, they're like, obviously you're going to say Halloween. They're like, but other than that, what's your favorite scary movie? And she said The Silence of the Lambs. And I was like, I never really looked at it as a scary movie, like a psychological thriller.
Right.
Maybe the ultimate psychological thriller of all time.
I agree with you.
Because Hannibal Lecter, I don't want that guy getting inside my head.
No. I wouldn't put it with
Absolutely
I wouldn't
not.
put it as a horror movie.
No,
so I'm
definitely,
with you.
definitely a psychological thriller. But at no point was I really scared.
No.
I mean, Buffalo Bill was definitely creepy, no question about that. And I don't know, maybe a little like on edge with the whole part at the end when she's in the dark and she's got the night vision goggles on or whatever, and
Yeah.
you can't really see. Like, you know, you're kind of nervous, like, what's going to happen, you know? But absolutely. I mean, I remember seeing that movie not too long after it came out. My grandmother owned it, and I didn't even tell my parents. I was just like, hey, Graham, can I borrow this? And what a great movie.
It is. It's a
mean,
great movie. I wanted to see if it made like the top. I'm just looking at the first page on the IMDb.
Oh, it's
top movies.
definitely over an 8. It's in the top 200, no question about it.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
How about this? Well, I don't know if you've seen this one, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
I have.
Mind.
You talked to me about it. And I'm one of those people that has an issue with endings to movies. I don't know why. Because, I mean, it gets a 7.7, which is very high. I don't disagree. I don't know. Something about the ending just turned me off a little bit. But I thought the acting, I mean, Jim Carrey playing serious roles, he's actually pretty good at it. I mean, he was really good in The Truman Show, I thought.
Right.
I didn't see Man on the Moon, but I think that was more serious, even though he was playing a comedian. I think that was still more of a serious movie.
Right.
And
He can pull it off.
I heard he was good in that as well. I think Kate Winslet's just a very talented actress anyway. I did like the movie, absolutely. It reminded me, honestly, a lot of another movie you turned me on to, Punch Drunk Love. I thought they were very similar, just because they were like uncomfortable lead actors. You know, I mean, because the Adam Sandler's character, and he's just so awkward and uncomfortable to like. I couldn't be around that guy. He's just weird. And I feel like Jim Carrey's character was, he was a little more upbeat, I would say. But yeah, no, I definitely see similarities between the two movies. And Punch Drunk Glove actually got a 7.3. So, I mean, they both are very highly regarded by critics. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I actually, after I watched it and talked to you about it, because I got it from the library, I believe, I went back and got it and watched it again. And I still felt the same way. I did like it, I just don't like the ending.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. Like, I liked Manchester by the Sea, did not like the ending. You know, it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't need a happy ending necessarily, but I feel like some movies end the movie with, like, no closure. Like, that's why initially I didn't really like 3 Billboards as much as you did, because I didn't like how that movie ended either. It's like, I want something to happen. Like, they're going on a journey, but you don't know what that journey ends up being because the movie just ends. It's like, I want some sort of closure.
Well, what I liked about 3 Billboards is Sam Rockwell's character changes.
Oh, completely. Complete 180.
Right?
What a jerk that guy is.
And then Frances McDormand's character, she's going to get, not necessarily closure, but she's getting somebody that's going to, they're going after the guy.
Somebody, yes,
You know?
yes.
So it's kind of like something's happening.
Now, the one thing is, I don't remember. Does he actually know she's the one that kind of like blew him up?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember if that actually got ever talked about.
I'll have to watch it again. I haven't watched that in a while.
Because I watched it a second time after we had talked about it, and I did like it much, much better than I did the first time. We are getting a little low on time. Let's
All right, well, we can
bring in
save
a couple more.
Okay, well, the next one is Truman Show. Jim Carrey again.
I liked
So
it.
somebody liked Jim Carrey.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I did. I thought it was good. Like I said, I was surprised because, talking about a guy who's like talking out of his butt in Ace Ventura and stuff like that, Dumb and Dumber, he did a really good job. I think Laura Linney is in that as well. Noah Emmerich plays his supposed best friend. And then Ed Harris is like the architect of the whole thing. So that's got a really good cast. Who directed that again?
Oh, geez, I
want
don't
to
know.
say someone pretty famous.
It's been a long time. I don't know.
But no, I liked it. I don't know if I would consider that a movie to see before I died. I mean, I liked it, but I don't know if I would. That wouldn't be on my list of movies that I would recommend you see before you die.
Here's one more. We'll do an even 5, and then we can revisit the next 5. Arrival. Did you see Arrival?
I haven't seen. Let's skip that and do another one that I have seen.
Goodfellas.
Yes, of course.
Goodfellas is definitely is up there.
Absolutely, yes. I mean that. It's not necessarily a popular opinion, but that's my favorite gangster movie of all
It's a
time.
pretty iconic movie.
Not The Godfather. I like Goodfellas better than The Godfather.
Wow.
And that's obviously saying something because The Godfather is number 2 on IMDb, and Godfather Part 2 is number 3.
Yeah.
But Goodfellas is right up there. Absolutely. I think Goodfellas is definitely in top 20. I did pop up real quick. That Silence of the Lambs is number 22. It's 8.6.
Yeah.
So
Deserves it. I think that's a great
absolutely
movie.
deserves it. And one thing I did want to mention too, I know we're talking about Goodfellas, but they remade Manhunter and renamed it Red Dragon, but it is a remake of Manhunter specifically because they wanted to do it with Anthony Hopkins because he was so good. And nothing against Brian Cox. Brian Cox was good too.
Right.
But he was just so good as Hannibal Lecter that they wanted to have him be in the remake.
And interestingly, I think I like Manhunter. I like the Michael Mann movie better.
Than Red Dragon?
Yeah.
Oh, I did too. That movie actually scared me.
I mean, Michael Mann just stylistically had, at the time, I think he did that before Miami Vice.
Yep.
I think they tapped him after that movie, but his movie making, it was so different, and it was creepy. It was really kind of a really cool movie.
But yeah, Goodfellas, I mean, without question, I mean, I know Joe Pesci was big at the time already, but I mean, that's one of those things where someone says Joe Pesci, you honestly think of his character in Goodfellas.
I'm going to have to go back and watch Goodfellas
You know,
again.
I mean, it's, same thing with Paul Sorvino. Anybody mentions Paul Sorvino, that's the first thing you think of is Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Not Jack.
or even
Nicholson.
Ray Liotta.
Robert De Niro, they're Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, I mean.
He's a hard one, too.
Exactly. But yeah, even
But
Ray
Ray
Liotta, it's like, well, yeah, you mean the guy from Goodfellas.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's the Ray
exactly.
Liotta.
Ray Liotta.
Maybe that's his peak movie.
Yeah, I would say so, because he was that and Field of Dreams were pretty close together, and he was actually pretty big in Field of Dreams, I mean, he played Shoeless Joe Jackson. That's a pretty big role. And very sad when he passed, because he was still pretty young. I want to say like 67 or 68,
Yeah.
And, I know he had health problems and stuff, but a very talented actor. Never really he was one of those ones that I was always disappointed that he never won an Oscar. I don't even think he ever got nominated for an Oscar, which was very surprising because he is a talented actor.
Yeah, maybe we need to do a Ray Liotta show.
We could.
And you had a bunch of Ray Liotta
I
movies,
do.
so you
I
lent
do,
me some.
yes.
Not the big ones.
Lesser known ones, like Phoenix, I think was one that you borrowed. Inferno. And did you borrow Narc
I think so.
with
yeah.
him and Jason Patrick, the undercover cops?
Yeah.
I mean, that one actually did get like a release in theaters. The other two were direct-to-video movies, but they were all good movies.
He's good in everything. you know?
Identity was actually a pretty big movie. He was really good in that. I mean, he doesn't really miss much. Like he's always like good at what he does.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and review some Ray Liotta.
John
movies.
Q. Have you seen John Q? He plays like the police chief.
Oh, with Denzel Washington.
Or captain, chief, whatever he is. Yeah, and like Robert Duvall's like the negotiator. That's got a really good cast. That's a really good movie.
I love Robert Duvall. I was on this thing because
Yeah.
I've been watching
Yeah.
Yellowstone. So when I ran out of Yellowstone, I thought it's got 4 discs that comes
Yeah.
with it. The 4th disc is all extras. So I was so disappointed.
That's
I
kind
was
of
like,
disappointing, yeah.
I had it on the weekend. I couldn't watch it. So I ended up, I watched Open Range again.
I was going to ask you if you watched Open Range, if you've seen that. Because when you mentioned Yellowstone, I was like, I wonder if he's seen Open Range. That's him and Kevin Costner, right?
Yeah.
Because that was huge. I worked at the video store when that came out, and it was decent at the box office, but we couldn't keep a DVD in the store.
Wow.
Like, word of mouth was just so good about that movie that, like, we got, like, the maximum we could get, and we just couldn't keep it in the store for, like, the first 2 months. I was like, wow, this is actually a really good movie, I guess.
I think that Robert Duvall, he's one of my favorites. I
good.
got to say, he's one of my favorites.
He's good. But I think we are out of time for this week. This was a really fast episode. This was good. This was a good episode. So yeah, we did half of them. So maybe we could do the other half next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of The Best Pictures. I'm one of your hosts, Joey Powers.
I'm Don Tretler. These are the ones you don't want to miss.
Hell no, you can't fight in here. This is the war room. Here's Johnny.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.